Well, in Ellensburg, hundreds of people crowded the student union at Central Washington University on Saturday, where Governor Bob Ferguson spoke to potential college students about benefits from filling out their FAFSA applications. John Franklin was there. He spoke with them afterwards. John, how did that conversation go?
John, I think that it was a very informative conversation that we had. We spoke about law enforcement, cutting spending, and immigration enforcement across the state. Here's a little bit of our conversation.
Excited to be here at Central Washington to really promote the fact that Washington State has tremendously generous financial aid for potential college students, but the problem is too many students don't fill out a form that unlocks all that financial aid.
In past interviews that I've had with Representatives Chris Corey and Alex Ibarra, they mentioned that they liked what Governor Bob Ferguson said in his inaugural address. However, they want to see him put his words to work. How are you going to be turning your words into reality?
Well, with their help and the help of the entire state legislature, right? So I made it very clear in my inaugural address, we've got a $12 to $14 billion budget shortfall that I'm inheriting. Look, we need to understand how we got to this shortfall, number one, and number two, we're going to have to face some significant cuts as a government in order to address that shortfall.
Governor Ferguson spoke about how he plans to aid law enforcement agencies in hiring officers.
I'm supporting a $100 million grant program so local jurisdictions can hire more law enforcement officials. That bill is moving. Senator Holy, Republican out of Spokane, is partnering with me. We think we're going to have success with that bill so we can get more law enforcement officers on the streets.
Ferguson knows he needs to cut spending, but he wants to be mindful with how he does it.
You know, we have a budget challenge, right? And so I'm asking all state agencies to take 6% cuts. We have to be mindful of where we take those cuts. On firefighting, for example, we can't slide backwards on the progress we've been making on addressing that important issue.
Finally, the governor spoke about deportations across the state.
Elections have consequences. They do. And when it comes to immigration enforcement, that is a federal responsibility. And so there may be things that a federal government does that I don't approve, but a president has the authority to do. But in the meantime, we understand many Washingtonians are deeply concerned about what's happening. That's an issue we monitor very closely. We're in regular contact with law enforcement, and we're making sure that individuals are deported, and sometimes that is entirely appropriate, right? If someone's engaged in criminal activity here in Washington State and they're deported, I'm good with that. That needs to happen. But there still can be impacts on kids, for example, and that's an area where Washington State can and needs to be involved in making sure those kids have support.
This is Governor Ferguson's second trip over the Cascades since being sworn in last month, the first being a visit to Spokane in January. John?
Now, I also know, John, you were going to talk to him about some other agricultural irrigation issues, and I know that's going to happen sometime in the future.
Yeah, hopefully sometime soon.
Thank you so much, John. Well, you can find the full press conference at CWU with Governor Ferguson on our YouTube page, youtube.com/@KIMA Action News.